to get further faster, and it kind of frames what we're going to be talking about tonight. The second part of this is the fun part. It's the mission statement. And the more interactive you guys can become with this, the better it's going to be. Because normally I would write everybody's stuff down on a whiteboard, but obviously we're not in a classroom of 30 people. So there is no whiteboard and there is no, people calling things out. So if you can just drop, be as interactive as you can and drop things in there as they come to you. So if you were to ask yourself, what if next year I didn't procrastinate so much? What if last year I didn't procrastinate so much? What if last year I actually kept my resolution to lose that last 10 pounds and I didn't have to do it again this year? What if last year I decided to get out of a bad relationship instead of sucking it up again this year, not being happy, not speaking my mind, not speaking my truth, not doing what I want to do, all of that stuff? What if you could just easily make decisions and just do it? Would be super great, right? It's actually quite possible, but you got to have some tools. You can't go into this blind. So I'm going to help you with those tools. So when I say the word prosequences, it's the opposite of consequences, all right? Prosequences are deliberate practices of the positive activities that are going to get you where you want to go, right? Why suffer the consequences of something? Just set the tone and put those things into place that are going to get you where you want to go. Further, faster is really just the process of compressing the amount of time between what you want and when you get it. And there's a way to do that. And then creality is the process of creating your thoughts and basically creating your own reality. So when we look at a personal development loop, we have a couple of things that stand in our way. And one of the biggest ones is our belief system. Now, if I still believed the Catholic religion that says that, whatever it says, all of the things that it says, or that I'm going to die and go to hell if I make, a small mistake as a human, then I probably wouldn't be living the life I'm living today. I am really kind of basking in spirituality because of a different belief system. Whatever that belief system is, that you're not smart enough, you're going to fail. Too many people are doing what you want to do. There's no room for you. You're not going to stand out. All of that crap in our head, right? Your past, your present beliefs, those also tie into what your future beliefs are going to be. But beliefs can be changed because what you believe is not always the truth. So just remember that, okay? Discipline, consistent and deliberate no matter what. You want to lose that 10 pounds by February 15th? Don't make the excuse of, oh, but it's somebody's birthday. Oh, but it's my anniversary. Oh, but it's this. So excuses. It's okay if you want to live that way, but discipline means that it's consistent and deliberate no matter what. That's why the goal and setting the goal and being clear on the goal is really, really important. Otherwise, you'll just allow yourself to waffle. Think of it this way. When it comes to discipline, I always say this. You can't say to your child, on Monday, you can stick your finger in the light socket. It's okay. But Tuesday, don't stick your finger in the light socket. You're going to get zapped. No. You tell your child, you don't do this. Period. Use that discipline against yourself and start following your own rules. But first, you got to make them. And then skill set is an activity or behavior in which you become consciously or unconsciously competent in. Now, I remember when I first learned to play the guitar, and even actually still, if I try to play the guitar, I've got to look at every place my finger goes. I don't really have that confidence because I don't play a lot. So I don't have the confidence of just knowing where everything is, right? Well, it's the same way with an activity or a behavior. The skill set that I might have is something I have because I practiced it, right? I knew enough to practice it. And when I practiced it, I didn't even have to think about it. If I'm going on a trip, I pack my food in a suitcase, period, the end. That's just the way it is, right? It's a habit at this point. So it's all of those things. If you really want to succeed, you have to know when you're going to fail and plan for that, plan for setbacks. Who wants more? Who wants a more magnificent life, right? Who doesn't want a more magnificent life? But we're suffering. We have self-doubt. That's not magnificent. That's debilitating. So if you want to free yourself of that, I want to help you have a more magnificent life where you have a magnificent life with good outcomes, good results. And of course, that E factor, we're going to talk about the effectiveness factor, is all about energy. So getting further faster, we have to start to ask ourselves some questions. Okay, what, why, who, how, when? And then we're going to talk about the praise in a minute. But that comes in with the tools. But first of all, let's say I'm talking about losing 10 pounds. Okay, well, I'm going to want to lose 10 pounds, right? What? I want to lose 10 pounds, solid 10 pounds of body fat. Okay, why? Why do I want to do that? Do I want to fit into clothes? Do I want to live longer? Do I want to stop abusing my body? There's a million reasons why, but you need to understand why you want to do something. It shouldn't be for anybody else. There should be a really emotional reason tied to that. If you're thinking about that right now, just write it down. Who's going to be there to support me? Who's going to be there to sabotage me? Okay, who's going to pick me up when I fall? Who? Is there going to be somebody there, or is it just you? If I fail, or if I find I'm not succeeding, how am I going to make a correction? When am I going to make a correction? Like, in other words, if you are losing weight and you eat one cookie or two cookies at an event, right? Are you going to wait the whole day or the whole week before you correct that activity? When are you going to fix it? Immediately, right? It doesn't have to wait. Oh, the day just went down, hell in a handbasket, as my mom used to say. It's all done. Let's just start over tomorrow. No. Now. When? Now. Okay. So get into that mindset of coming up with solutions before you have a problem. And then, for goodness sake, when you do something good, praise yourself. So like I said, we'll be talking a little bit more about praise. I'm sure you've done stuff before that you're good at. So what are you good at? Are you good at losing weight? Are you good at saving money? Did you beat cancer? That's great, right? Did you get a promotion? Do you have some accolades? Your kids are good. Everybody has some goodness and some things that are really, really good for them in their life. Even if they might suck at some of the things that they're trying to be good at, you're good at something, right? So in order to have a more magnificent life, we've got to have a bunch of things occurring kind of all at the same time. And if you're missing a piece of this puzzle, I'll tell you right now, you're not living the life that you want. I can be sure of that. And you're not living the life you deserve. So we have to have good mental clarity. We have to have good faculties about us. We can't be too emotional. We can't be worrying and having a hamster wheel go on in our head. We can't be thinking about the past or the future. We got to live in the now. We have to keep our emotions in check by using our intuition. We have to keep ourselves active. Financially, we have to just make sure that we can be comfortable with doing all of these other things with our finances. And if we're not comfortable with the finances, it might be time to start looking at something different. Spiritual. Are you living a spiritual life no matter what it is you believe? Is that part of your life, or do you just say, this is what I am, I'm this religion, but you don't follow it? So that connection with your creator, whoever that is to you. And then the last one is contribution. Now, I have a lot of people that I can tell you that I know don't even think about contributing to a higher good at all. Never dawns on them. It's all about what goes on inside their little bubble. And they're never going to be happy if they don't look at the contribution piece of this. You cannot place enough emphasis on it. So when I say give yourself a score, hold on a second, because I'm going to pull up a handout. I hope I can do it without getting into this. No, It's not going to let me. You got a couple of handouts there. I'm trying to move my screen. And there's a questionnaire that's going to ask you some things that you should rate. Okay. How do you feel about the financial part of your life? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about that? Print them off and give yourself a score on each one of them. And then when you start putting some of these tips into place, go back and see where you stand. So when we look at outcomes, a lot of people start the new year like, you know what's to the wall, right? They are like a horse out of the gate, 100 miles an hour, and they never even had a plan. They had no idea how they were going to do what they were going to do. They just did it. They just started, right? But starting something isn't really the same as like a slow burn. I can start a fire, but I want that thing to burn and burn and burn and burn and light me up every single day. And that takes a few things that you need to do every day to make that happen. So you want to make sure that you give yourself some, give yourself some slack and make short incremental goals. And you don't veer off the course of that goal until you reach the first one. I'm going to give you an example. We call them SMART goals: specific, measurable, action-oriented, and they must have a time frame. They have to be realistic and have a time frame. So let's just go back to the 10 pounds thing because it's just an easy analogy, right? I want to lose 10 pounds. Okay, that's my goal. But how am I going to lose? How, when, where, who? All of those things have to be answered first. If you haven't done that, go back home and start again at the beginning of that board because you don't have a plan. You're not going to make it. And then you're going to feel like crap at some point in your process. So do it right the first time. And honestly, you probably won't have to do it again. So short incremental accomplishments would be, if you want to lose 10 pounds, you want to pick 3 things that have kind of stuck you in the past. You know, what are those 3 things that every time you tried, that's the thing that got you? You want to write that down and come up with a plan for that, right? So instead of losing 10 pounds in a month, why don't we say, I'm going to learn to cook my dinner every night. I'm going to create whole foods every single day. That's a short incremental goal. If you're not cooking for yourself, you're not going to get there. You've got to take those steps that are going to put things in place for you to be successful. So energy is described as the ability to do work, right? But energy is all around us. Your thoughts have energy. And I'm going to be showing you a little bit more as we get into this about how to sort of put an energetic foot out in front of you and stop the flow of negative energy. But energy is the E factor. And the E factor is emotions. If you put your emotions and the right emotions in the right place, there isn't anything that you can't do. And I am not going to tell you my story today. I'm not going to share my story. But I will tell you a little bit that, I had a really lousy childhood. I was very overweight, very sick growing up. I overcame pretty much every lousy issue in my life. Growing up horribly, the whole thing, being overweight, being bullied, being ridiculed. There's no excuse for actions, and you can take charge of your life. And that's what I want to, see that you do. I want to help you to do that if you can. If anybody in my family should have been screwed up, it was me. But I'm the one that ended up, and I have another brother who's basically, has a great life. I have 2 other siblings who have a lot of difficulty. They've had a lot of difficulty in their life. So it doesn't really matter how you were raised. How it doesn't matter what happened. There is no excuse to get better and take action unless you choose to wallow in something. And there are situations out there, I am not being cold about it. There are some horrible situations people have gone through, and my heart breaks for them. But it can stop and you can change it. You just have to wanna, and you have to have some tools. When the bugaboos start coming out, you have to have something. So all I ask for you to do is play full out, be honest to yourself, and commit to yourself that you're going to have a paradigm shift once you get this keen understanding of these tools, how they work, and if you use them, I will give you 100% commitment. You can email me, call me, text me, message me, whatever, whenever you need to, and ask me a question. I'm here for that. I'm here to help guide you. I'm here to help coach you. I want to see you succeed. But you got to use the tools. That is the first step. Okay. So what I expect is I expect no excuses. Play full out. Be honest with yourself, because that's the most important thing. Now, what I always say when I teach this class is none of this stuff is allowed. I don't want to hear whiners, complainers, gossipers, or those who are criticizing other people or anything else, okay? Because until you have the life you want, you have nothing to say to anybody at all. We all are human. We all are struggling, and we all are at a certain place in our journey, and we need to be compassionate for others, but we don't need to listen to that stuff, right? So when it comes to something, you don't want to be saying to yourself, because you're letting yourself down, oh, I can't do that. That's too hard. Oh, give up this. Oh, I can't do that. Even if it means your health, you've got to play full out, and you will get the results that you want. Unvictimize yourself and say loudly, if there's been something where you've been feeling the victim of, just scream it out. Not me, not anymore. I am not a victim anymore. I am not a victim of my lousy childhood. I am not a victim of the stepfather who treated me like dirt, tried to run me over with a car. I am not a victim. I am not, right? I am an empowered person, and I'm going to take charge. And I know sometimes we feel completely like a loser, right? But, it's okay to fail. It's just not okay to stop trying, right? Progress is impossible without change. If you don't change something, you will not change anything. You have to be open and willing to change and try something you've never done before. And if you're not open to that, you might as well shut down this whole PowerPoint right now. Don't even watch. It's not worth it. You've got to be willing to try new things. Now, all human behavior is preceded by emotion. And most of us let this carry us away. You want to be able to use this to your advantage. Perfect example, yesterday Sunday, we had some live talks going on, and one of the women on our live talk, she said that, she's always, she's embattled with this emotion, and she was afraid to do something, afraid. She fears it. And really, fear and anxiety and excitement, they all have the same quality. They all send our heart racing. They all get us breathing faster. They all have us pumping cortisol. But if you tell yourself you're excited, I'm excited rather than I'm anxious, you're fueling a good emotion instead of a bad one. So this is my favorite saying probably in the whole world. Or I like to say, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. But one of my clients said to one of my other clients, as we were passing between sessions one day, many years ago, she said, I just want to let you know, she's going to tell you, if you keep doing what you did, you're going to keep getting what you got. And that is the definition of insanity. So, if you're somebody who's been on Weight Watchers for the last 25 years and you have a lifetime membership, it's not working. Do something different, right? Be open to do something different. All progress takes place outside your comfort zone. If you want to stay the way you are, that's fine. We love you anyway. But don't expect to change if you don't want to try something different. You're where you are because of what you do. Okay? So if you want to change that, you got to think outside the box. Don't worry about it. No matter how long you have traveled on a road, you can always turn around. Okay? And your dream doesn't have an expiration date. Just take a deep breath and try again. Don't wait a month, but try again. And I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to leave it up for a second. But this was a great weight loss tool that we used to use. I used to pass it out on a handout to everybody. But it just shows you that, over and over and over again, you do the same thing. And then finally one day, and you're like, oh, I can do something different. That's what it's going to take. And it's also going to take some courage, right? What is a person that gets what they want have what you don't have? Courage, okay? They had the courage to step outside the box and do something that maybe they normally would not have done. And what I'm saying to you is if you want your life to change, you've got to have the courage to do whatever is necessary. The other thing is, where is your focus? So if I'm so concerned about, let's say, holiday gatherings, I don't get along with a relative. This is really not my story because I don't really get to see my relatives. I love them all dearly, but I don't get to see them much. But if you are focusing on the bad about something, oh, I have to go to this dinner, I have to, and you're like inside your head, you're just going around and around about it. You're not focused on something beneficial that you might take from it, right? And it's like a negative experience and it trashes you. By the time you're done, you're like wiped out, right? Or if we've got a goal, so many people focus on what they don't want to do. Oh, I don't want to eat that donut. Oh, I don't want to be around this person, or I don't want to be in this situation because that person might be there. Oh, I don't want to walk into a store because I might spend money. Where is your focus? Your focus should be on where you want to go. A mentor of mine told me a story once, and there was two people in a car driving down the road. I think it was him and his mom, driving down the road, and it was like one of those really long, windy dirt roads. And all of a sudden, a telephone pole came right up in his sight. And the scary part of it was he was heading right for it. What do we do when we're heading right for something? Instead of turning the wheel and focusing where he wanted to go, guess where he ended up? In the pole. So, you really do, you gravitate. When you put momentum to something, energy, that's where you end up. This is going to be a key slide in all of this because, like I said, every human behavior is based on a feeling or an emotion. And Tony Robbins calls these the 6 basic needs of humans. So as you go through this list of 6 different things, if you're not kind of playing in one spot or another, your life could definitely be better. So we always want to know, as humans, we want to move away from pain and gain pleasure, safety, and security. That's why we don't do a lot of the things we know we're supposed to do. It's not safe, it's not secure, and it's painful. Okay, let's face it, we're not dumb. We know we don't want that, but we've got to do some things to get what we want. So we have to sort of, make that agreement with ourselves. Uncertainty and variety. We all need an unknown, a stimuli, a little bit of a change here and there. Can't stay in the same old situation and expect to feel good. It's stagnation, right? If you're not growing, you're stagnating. Significance. Here's a big one. That feeling of being important or needed or special in some way. So many people lack significance, and probably because they're just working a job they don't love and they're not doing what they love. Connection and love, that strong feeling of closeness with someone or the whole world. Growth, expansion, capacity, the capacity to understand, the capacity to forgive. Growth is really important. And contribution. If you're doing something just for yourself and a little piece of you isn't doing something for others, you will never truly be happy. So with those 6 basic needs in mind, we have to understand the map is not the territory. In NLP, that's a saying they use, but it basically means the way you see something isn't necessarily the way it is, right? We all come from our place of beliefs, upbringing, religion, culture, whatever it is that we've been surrounded by, that's where our behaviors start to grow. But behaviors are adaptive, okay? So when we find ourselves in a behavior pattern we don't like, we should ask ourselves, why do I feel the need to still act this way? What is it about this action that supports where I'm going? right? If it doesn't support where you're going, what other behavior can I put in its place to make me feel good about the outcome? You have to ask yourself questions because we see the whole world, through lenses and filters, right? If I were to ask you, do you think that hard work equals success? See people that are successful, right? Do they work hard? They might not work hard, right? But it's what you don't see that makes you successful. It's not just what you see. It's what lies in here. And because our beliefs are so strong, whether or not you think you can or you can't, you're absolutely right. What you think becomes, okay? And if you recall the very first word ever spoken or words ever spoken, let there be light, and there was light. It happens that quickly. So, your thoughts and words go out as energy in an instant. And if you're not vibrating in harmony with what you want, you're going to get what you don't want. Even if you think you don't deserve it, you have lots of reasons for why you don't want to do something, don't want to do it, I don't want to see it, I don't want to. And then what ends up happening? It ends up right in your lap because you're resonating with that low frequency. Whereas if you're constantly resonating with what you want, what you see yourself as when you become, right? You're always in a state of becoming. You're never going to be at the end of your becomingness. That's why we're here. But getting what you deserve takes a couple of things. It takes understanding some rules. There's the thought, the word, and the deed, right? So if you think of a ship, the hull or the bottom part of that boat, right? That's your thought. That's like an incubator. Now the thought comes into your head, but it doesn't get legs until it becomes a word. Now you have said it, you have ordained it, you have put energy to it out into the universe, right? And then it's following that up with action. So in physics, energy is that property that must be transferred to an object in order to perform work on it. And energy can be created but not destroyed. You can't take a thought back. Okay, you can't go, oh, I didn't mean to think that. It's out there. So we want to be really careful to be able to sort of change our language, change our thoughts, and definitely change what we say. So if we're talking about ourselves in a negative way, I'm too heavy to wear this, or if we're talking negative, that negative energy goes right out there and becomes. And it's something that really needs to be worked on, but it can be changed. Where energy flows, intention goes. So your attention is the most powerful resource available to you at any given moment. If you can catch yourself before you start thinking negatively or as you start thinking negatively and stop the flow of energy and send it in a different place, it never happens. You never get bummed out. You never get anxious. You never get depressed because you stop yourself. Easier said than done, perhaps, but those are some of the tools that we're going to explore. So your emotion is energy in motion. Now, I can prove that to you with a tuning fork. I can actually put a tuning fork in a person's energy field and hear that emotion. So we know that it's out there. It's out there in your field. And it's great to be able to get rid of it and bring it back to your body and integrate and make it whole. But until you do that, you just want to focus. Where is your attention? Are you paying attention? I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I always ask, but they always say, just ask and you'll receive. But I never receive. I never get any messages. You're getting them, but you're probably just not aware of them. You got to watch for signs. Sometimes they're subtle. Where can I go today that will make me the happiest? What can I do today? Watch the answers that come, because there's something called a reticular activation system. It's almost like a GPS in your body. When you start saying, I want, and you feel what it's like to have that thing, not to want it, but to have it, you feel the energy and excitement. Think about one thing right now right now, you really, you just would be so awesome to have it. And capture the feeling of what it's like to have that just for a minute, right? Just for a minute. What book is going to bring me the most information to take me to my next step? It's going to drop in your lap. You just got to look for it, right? So we see signs all over the place, but are we recognizing them? A lot of times we're not. So one of the things you need to know is you need to know the universal rules of the road, because if you go against them, unfortunately, I can't help you there. You're on your own. Now, there's a bunch of different rules. I've given you a handout. If you look in the Google Docs there, you're going to get a handout on all 12 of the rules. But the law of correspondence tells us that what we think is mirrored in our lives. So if you're not happy with an aspect of your life, look in the mirror of your life. And if you don't like what you see, change it, because nobody else can change it for you. It's up to you. Cause and effect. That's the relationship between events and things, where one is the result of the other things, but it's a combination of action and reaction. So we would rather be taking action than reaction, and that takes a little work, right? The law of vibration states that anything or everything that exists in the universe, whether it's seen or unseen, broken down and analyzed in its purest, most basic form, consists of pure energy or light, which resonates and exists as a vibratory frequency or a pattern. So what I just said about the tuning fork, your thoughts, your emotions, they're out there about 5 feet from you. And how do we stop accessing those old stories? Because that's what they are. They're old stories that just keep playing in your mind, like a bad program in your computer or a virus in your computer. Well, first of all, we have to recognize when we're vibrating at that really low frequency. So if you've got the victim mentality, why did this happen to me? Or, you're apathetic, lethargic. Oh, why do I always lose? Why me? That's a very low frequency. So you're going to attract things that are at that frequency, even if you don't want them. And even if you think you didn't ask for them, you vibrated. You vibrated in resonance with them, you're going to get them. So what's the story? How do we change that? Raise your vibration, right? Conflict, anger, defiance. Are you still angry with people? Are you still holding a grudge? All of that stuff, such a low energy frequency. Let it go, because that other person more than likely is not suffering nearly as much as you. Responsibility, forgiveness, cooperation. Now I win. Now this is what it feels like to be a human being, right? But when you get to that heart chakra area, that area of compassion, service, really, you win, and so does everybody else. Now, as you get a little bit higher in those levels of consciousness, you've forgiven a lot of people. You look at everything more compassionately. You care more about people that are suffering and try to help them and share resources like this. Now you're getting up there in the acceptance, the peace, you're at peace with yourself. And as you get higher and higher in vibration, you finally become one with what you were intended to be here for. Now, that law of action is another law that's really important. And this is kind of a busy little thing, but, there's lots of action you can take on lots of things. But I want to kind of focus on the goal setting, green on the right there. Getting clear on the goal, focus, write them down. They must meet certain criteria. There's your specific, measurable, achievable, positive time limit. Break it down, visualize, take action and keep it alive. Action's not good enough. It's got to be activity. It's got to be consistent. I can take an action and say, I'm going on a diet on January 1st. And on January 1st, all day, I eat great. And on January 2nd, my action stopped, right? So here's another thing. I wish I could tell you that you were going to feel like doing a lot of the things that you need to do. But the truth is, you're not ever going to feel like doing a lot of it. Who the heck feels like doing 100 burpees? Who feels like getting up on a cold morning and running 5 miles? You might like running because it releases that energy for you. But I can tell you, I don't know too many people who love running on a 20-degree day, in the north or whatever, asking for a raise, asking for somebody in the family to be more considerate of us, right? You're never going to feel like asking and making yourself vulnerable and sharing your feelings, but you'll have to, because you're never going to feel like it. You're never going to feel like eating a salad when you want to have French fries. You're not ever going to feel like it. So just resolve yourself to know that you've got to have a stronger purpose, and that's what the mission statement is for. So we're actually not going to have a break because we're going to another PowerPoint. So the second part of this PowerPoint is that we're going to create a mission statement. Hopefully you got a chance to get a water break. All right. So who believes in motivation? What's motivation? Drop a comment if you think you know what motivation really is, or at least what it means to you. Motivation in the dictionary is this, right? It's the driving force, the stimulus, the incentive, the inspiration. But for most of us, that driving force doesn't last long. It lasts about as long as the next birthday party, anniversary, or Valentine's Day, right? If it's dietary. If it's a money thing, we always make an excuse. Well, I was trying to save money, but this was a... So, if this is something you really want to do, you've got to really put some rubber on the road. Now, the key word is not just action, it's activity. But an action is the fact or process of doing something to achieve an aim, right? If you don't resonate with one of these, circle that area, take a screenshot. I promise you, it could be a missing link. Now, a lot of people look at others that have what they want, or what you want. Somebody else might have what you want, and all the things that you'll think are, well, they probably are deserving of what they got. They must be optimistic. They're probably fearless. They're probably courageous, and they're probably determined. I'm none of those things. But see, that's not the truth. It's just that those people, and I can't speak for anybody but me, right? I'm worthy and deserving. I'm optimistic, but I have certain emotions that were my driver. So that's why you've got to get really clear on what you want. The first thing that I'm going to say again is that the only thing it takes for you to succeed is willingness and consistent action. That's it. But this was always my motto. Whenever I was driving and I didn't want to do something, Nike really hooked me up when they came out with the phrase, just do it, just do it, just do it. And I used to say that even to my clients. I know you don't want to do it, just do it. That he just continues to say, they do it and do it and do it. And then when they're done, they do it again. So basically, the point here is you don't just do it once. You got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. So motivation is what gets you started, but habit is what keeps you going. So do you want motivation or do you want habits? Right? The whole point of this PowerPoint is to develop habits, not just to have motivation. We can all have motivation for a short period of time, but to keep doing it and to create habits, that takes commitment. Now, I'm going to help you focus on that commitment because you're going to make a commitment to yourself. Humans have an average of up to 50,000 thoughts a day, but 95% of them are the same thoughts over and over and over. I mean, how much time are we really thinking about new things? We don't have a lot of time to do that. I'm going to teach you a pattern interrupt, and it's a technique to change a particular thought, behavior, or situation. Remember when I said it's like sticking an energetic leg out in front of you and tripping you from where you were going, and you're going to shift your energetic mental direction, right? And this is what stands in the way of most people's success. So the 5-second rule. The 5-second rule is not something that I created, although back in the day, I used to call it take 5. So let's just say that I'm in a thought pattern. I'm panicking, I'm worrying. I catch myself procrastinating. First of all, I'm going to go, good job. I caught myself.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And then you're going to count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're going to do it. Remember, just like your child, you wouldn't say to your child, oh, yeah, you can have a few more seconds. No, it's 5 seconds. You have 5 seconds to screw off and procrastinate, and then you're done. Boom, you do it. Then you pick up the phone and you call that person, or you reach out to somebody on Facebook you haven't talked to in a year because they said something on your page, or whatever the situation is, right? Calling somebody about a job, starting a business, taking the first step to starting a business, getting on the internet and finding out maybe what kind of a business you want to start, whatever that first step is. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, done. It's done. Now that doesn't work for a lot of people, but it can if you practice it and you stick to it. I use this is a pattern interrupt. It's called the stop technique. Now first, in order to have the stop technique work the best, the mission statement helps. So I'm going to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it real quick again after the mission statement. But the stop technique is literally just that. If my mind is going in a certain place, I'm already going to decide what it feels like, what it looks like. It doesn't matter if you want to pick up a specific stone or crystal and put it in your pocket that makes you think of it. Or I have these little cards they're called What's Your Word? And these are pretty cool. And the What's Your Word cards, basically you pull one out and it's going to ask you a question, and maybe it's something meaningful for you. What's your word? What do you spend too much time doing? Well, that one wouldn't quite apply, but what do you want to let go of, right? So they're just little things to kind of keep our focus, there's that word again, focus, on where we want to go. Because if you keep forgetting all the things that tripped you up, you're not going to get there. They're going to come back. But the stop technique would be similar to this. Let's say that I'm in a situation where I have a nagging sibling or something, right? And now we're at Christmas dinner and I get into a ruckus with this person all the time or something to that effect, right? Or I'm at the table with all the desserts that I said that I wouldn't eat, right? And I'm standing there and I'm trying to justify why I want to do what I want to do. The first thing you do is you say very loudly, if you can, or in your head very loudly, stop. And then you praise yourself. Good job. Then you put in its place immediately that thought that makes you feel the best. So if it's a food-related thing, it's fitting into those pants and how good they're going to fit. You take 5 and you wallow in the pleasure of where you want to be. And the next thing you know, you just get out of the situation and you move on, and you're probably going to come out of it really well. Now, the other thing is you have to honor your authentic self. We're never going to get anywhere if we don't honor our authentic self. A lot of times we're doing things that don't even align with us. Like the people that are picking on all the candy at work and all of that stuff. If that's not something you do all the time, and now all of a sudden you're doing it, you're not honoring your authentic self. Figure out, why am I doing that? What am I trying to pacify? And then how do I make myself feel really good in a second? Marrying goals and visions with action. It's not good enough just to put something down on paper. You got to take steps at some point, right? But when you witness how using those stop technique and putting that action into action, there's no better feeling in the world. Oh, I did that. I just got past that point. It feels so good. So you want to create a list of 1 or 2 things or goals that are the most important to you right now, and start practicing with those techniques. So now if you have a piece of paper, I highly suggest that you bring that out, because otherwise you're going to need to take a screenshot of what I've got here and help each other out here, okay? I'm going to show you my mission statement, and I'm going to help you create yours. You are never going to get where you want to go if you don't know who you are, what you stand for, and why you are here. Because once you do, you will live to that mission. You'll feel like a schlep if you don't. So the first three is you decide what it is what describes you. Well, I sure am courageous. I'll do anything. Anything. I'm not afraid anymore to do anything, even if I look silly. I don't care. I am optimal, I am limitless, and I am abundantly blessed. That's a pretty cool person, right? So if that's who I am, does a courageous, optimal, limitless, and abundantly blessed person eat donuts? No. Do they procrastinate? No. They don't do those things. This person, whether it's me or somebody else, I wouldn't see this person as kind of having food hangups or self-doubt, or it doesn't happen overnight. The mission statement helps you. But if I say this is who I am and I'm feeling a little bit not abundant, or I'm feeling like, oh, I don't have enough money or whatever, I'm abundantly blessed. This is who I am. So when you put this statement out there and you say it and say it and say it, the next thing you know, everything you said becomes, I am a visionary, a leader, a mentor, and a coach. That's what I stand for. I stand for helping people. I've gotten that last piece of the puzzle of those 6 basic human needs. And I realized that my life is worth nothing just to make me happy and nobody else. Definitely have to share the things that you know and help other people. So that's how I saw myself, somebody who wasn't afraid to take a big step when nobody else was stepping there, not caring what anybody thought. I'm a leader, I'm a mentor, and I'm a coach. So that was what do I stand for? What do I do? Now you can say I am a nurturer, and usually when we're in a big group, everybody throws out words and I write them on the board for everybody else. So if you're watching this right now, throw some words down there and help somebody out. And then what's my end game? Why am I doing this? What am I here for? My end game and my purpose is who guides hearts, spreads hope, and unites souls so that we can each live up to our utmost potential for the betterment of mankind. So that is my personal mission statement, and I live by it. Now, I can't say I'm perfect 100% of the time, but I don't ever let that person down. I don't ever let that person down. So declare it and ordain it. Say, I am, and your name, and then I am, and give yourself, some 3 things that you feel you are. Like I said, I'm courageous. You might be loving. You might be insightful. You might be something else, right? I am this, this, and this. That's the first part of the mission statement. So if you don't have the paperwork that I sent for you, and you don't download that, just take a screenshot, and when you have a minute, play around with it. You might choose some words and then change those words later, and that's perfectly fine. Are you a nurturer, a mother, a leader, a world changer, a goal buster? It's up to you. Those words are yours. So figure out what they are, and you'll know when you feel really good saying them, like really, really good saying them. And it's okay if that's not what you are yet. But that's your true nature. If that's who you want to be, if that's what makes you feel good, those are the words that you use. And then you pick 1 to 3 more, and you say, who, and then what is it that you do? What's your end game? What are you here for? What floats your boat? What rocks your world? And then choose an end statement. And I was in a group of people at the time, and we were sort of given the end statement, even though we could choose it. The end statement was, and I freaking rock. So you would say, if you would go back to your mission statement, I would say, I'm Sandra Miller. I'm courageous, optimal, limitless, and abundantly blessed. I'm a visionary, a leader, a mentor, and a coach who guides hearts, spreads hope, and unites souls that we can each live up to our utmost potential for the betterment of mankind. And I freaking rock. And you just say it. Put your emotions in it. Get your nervous system fired up for the person that you are. And that is not only going to bring you clarity, but that's going to be the wind underneath your wings when you really need it. A couple of things to follow up. The 4 H's of self-doubt. Hesitation. Oh, I can't do that. I'm going to look silly. I had a mentor once that said to me, Sandra, ready, fire, aim. Don't think about it. Boom, just do it and deal with it. Just do it and deal with, okay, it sucked. I have to rework it. See, because I'm open to doing something different. But if I keep doing the same thing and it keeps not working and I stop doing it, whose fault is that? It's mine, right? So hesitation, we always want things perfect, or the timing has to be perfect, or, I'm not going to make a difference like somebody else does. That is not true. We are all unique. And this is one of those traps of self-doubt. Hiding, we're avoiding, we're not going to social events. We're not kind of speaking about marriage problems or relationship problems. We're hiding from the fact that we have an issue. Hypercritical. This is another one where you're always bringing out your own flaws and, I can't do that because I'm not confident. I'm not this. I'm not that. I was probably the biggest wallflower you'd ever want to meet. And I had to stand in front of a mirror when I was teaching CPR to doctors. And I was terrified. And I had to stand in front of a mirror for 2 weeks and recite my whole presentation so that I would get comfortable with what I knew. And it turned out that when it came to CPR, I knew a little bit more than the doctors did. Even though they were cardiologists, they only did that once a year. I did it every day. So, again, the map is not the territory. What you believe is probably not the truth. So don't listen to yourself. Take the chance. That other H is hopeless. The hopeless thing, the victim thing, that is really going to make this life hell. And it doesn't have to be. It can really, really be wonderful. You're not always going to succeed and do great. You're just not, right? So I always ask people, where do you live? Do you live in the past? Because if you live in the past, then you're whiny. You're making excuses, you're pessimistic, why this isn't going to work, that isn't going to work, I can't do that, that's not me, that kind of thing. You're living in the past and not in the now, right? If you're living in the future, you're always anxious, you're worrying, you're impatient, you're impulsive. Whoops, I got a little typo there. Hesitant, or overly cautious. The reason why they call the present is because it's a gift. Utilize that gift and live in the now. What can I do now? The hell with tomorrow. The hell with January 1st, I'm going to change my diet. If it's your body and you want to be healthier, do it now. What are you waiting for? There is no good reason to wait. And live less out of habit and more out of intent. Once you create new habits, then that's a different story. But old habits, let them go, burn them up, they're gone. Do who you are. See, just because you do something, it's not necessarily who you are, it's what you do. So if you're somebody who says, I don't usually do this, but right? Who are you saying that for? Are you saying that for yourself? Because most of the time, those other people might not know what you do. We say it to make ourselves feel better. A misaligned person is doing things that don't line up with who they are. They're alien behaviors to them. You consider yourself a fairly healthy person, but every time the cookie tray comes out, you're like ravenous, right? That's, and you know that's not you. So do who you are. If that's not you, those are the things to work on to be able to tell yourself how beautiful and wonderful you are and why you're not going to do that, why you're going to do this instead of that, because you love yourself and you care about yourself. Do who you are. And honestly, you will be a much happier person for that. And the very last slide here is the steps to entering this loop of confidence with all this stuff is that practice makes perfect. So daily taking action towards self-discovery, things like this. Ask yourself a question. Have somebody else ask you a question, and then you answer it. Learn how to think positive. Use those pattern interrupts. Stop. But you've got to have a really positive something. So I usually do this with a vision board. I have people create a vision board, and then they can look at that, or a song. And my little phrase was just do it. So every time I said stop, just do it, boom, I'd have to do it, right? Because otherwise I would be procrastinating. Face your fears. You always hear that, face your fear and do it anyway. And honestly, it's the truth. If you're in your comfort zone, you're not going to grow. It's not going to happen for you. Get comfortable with where you are. And that's okay. Like I said, we'll love you anyway. But if that's not what you want, push past those comfort zones, overcome self-limiting beliefs, because you can do anything you put your mind to. You just have to put some wind behind it. So wind behind those sails. Confirm your skills and abilities. What are you good at? Give yourself a pat on the back for all the things you've accomplished. So you've got a mission statement that you can live by. I'm trying to come out of here now. And it's really powerful if you use it. So use that mission statement, create your own reality. If you want to do a training on this again, where we just get on a Zoom, I'm sorry, I can't seem to quit my PowerPoint. There we go. And you want to do that, I'll do it again for a small group privately, and we can really have a go at it. And I think it'll be helpful for you to do that. But if you think you can do that by yourself, that's great. I'd be interested to hear what you guys came up with. And I'm going to be doing a full workshop at a place called Welcome Om in Spring Hill in February. So it's like the mindset reset on steroids, because we get to yell and scream and be loud and really get these things in our nervous system. So I hope this was helpful for you. Have a wonderful evening. If you want me to email you the handouts, or you want to talk to me, like I said, I will give you my email. You can message me, whatever you need. But go out there and slay 2020. It's yours for the taking. Own it. Okay? And you have a great night, and I will see you guys later.